Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. I am your host, Alyssa Rogers. I was just saying that I was nervous about this episode, excited about this episode, because we have Anmore Sparks here with the Danville Chamber of Commerce, and I have been wanting to have you on here for so long, so thank you for being here.
Well, you're so sweet. When you called, I'm just so excited to be here and be in South Boston with you, and I admire your work. So thank you very much for inviting me. And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. It is Valentine's Day as we record this. It is my favorite holiday, always has been, and look at who I get to spend it with. So thank you so much for being here.
And she did get a big bouquet of roses. I did see them. So
I did.
Yes.
I did. So Joey and I have been married 9 years today. It is our wedding anniversary, Valentine's Day. So very special day for me, and I'm excited to spend some time with you.
Me too. Thank you.
Yes, and you know, this is the first time we've met in person, and so I want to get to know you better. I want everyone else to get to know you better,
Okay.
and kind of, just talk about what your journey was leading up to you becoming the director of the chamber.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to say I was born and raised in Danville, and an alum of George Washington High School. Go Eagles!
Yeah.
And graduated, went to Radford and played tennis. Was a tennis player in college.
I went to Radford too.
Oh, there you go.
Radford, let's go Highlanders.
That's right. And after Radford, I went to Atlanta.
Okay.
And I was in the food and beverage and spa industry. And so when you look back on my work career, been very different, but they're all related to customer service, right? And so I came back in 2001 to take care of my mom, who was ill, and she lived with us, and I got a job in community development, economic development with the city of Danville, and then I went on with Danville Public Schools, and then I'm very fortunate to have a job now as president and CEO of the Danville, Pittsylvania Chamber. I finally feel at 60 years old, I have found the job that really matches who I am at my core and matches my skill sets. Because we're really relationship driven as Rogers. And I was telling you earlier, it's not rocket science. It's about the relationships that you make that lead to chamber memberships or customers or whatever that may be. So kind of varied, but it all stacks, right?
Yes.
And it leads you to that one thing.
It really does. And so what year did you join the chamber? Tell everyone what year you joined the chamber.
2022. So I'm coming up on 3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
And there's been an evolution in Danville over the past 3 years. What's been one of the most exciting things for you? And I know there's so many, but what's been like a standout moment for you?
Well, let me go back to my childhood.
Okay.
Back when Dan River was at its height in 1960s. Riding across Martin Luther King Bridge or any of the bridges, and the river was it took on the hue of whatever dye that they were doing at the time. And then when I came back home in 2001, it was right during the fall of tobacco and textiles. So you go from the 60s to losing everything at once. And Danville was in a difficult place, as many localities who rely on tobacco, textile, furniture. And so we are so fortunate to have leaders in our community who made some decisions 25, 30 years ago that has led to where we are today. And one thing that sets, I think, our community apart is how well the city and the county work together.
I agree.
And so the most wonderful part for me is when I started working for the city in 2004, I worked on Main Street redevelopment. And to see all of the progress that we have made or the city has made in 20 years is really unbelievable.
It is. It's amazing to see.
Yeah. And somebody told me a long time ago that to completely turn around your economy and revitalize your community, it's going to be a 20 or 30-year effort. So in the year 2000, you're like, that's forever, right? And now, slowly it's here. And it's just a wonderful place to be, especially when you're from there and you've seen where you were and then where you are now.
And that's so true when it comes to watching a community rebuild like that. It reminds me of business.
Yep.
When you run a business and you start out and you have a vision of where you want to be, but
we
it
just
may be a
about
20-year, and you're in the trenches, and it's like, am I ever going to see things unfold? I would never. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if when I took you around a tour, if you'd be seeing what you saw today, I'd be like, no way.
I mean, you said it. You started out in 2 small offices?
Yes.
And now you had a vision.
Exactly.
And you had people like I do. I have an amazing team who are driven by wanting to make a difference, whether it's for your customers or for your chamber members or your community. That's a recipe for great success.
And something I really admire from the moment we started talking is you lift your team up every chance you get. And I appreciate that so much because, I mean, it takes a team of people to make great things happen. And you talk about the collaboration between the city of Danville and the county of Danville and everyone that is involved in making things happen. So tell us a little bit about your team at the chamber.
I'm so fortunate. Christy Harper is our Director of Member Engagement, and she does, we're a very small but mighty team, as most chambers are.
Yes.
Mitzi is too, and she's doing amazing things here in Halifax and South Boston. But Christy is Member Engagement, so she's in charge of recruiting new members and retaining existing members in our programming. And then Crystal Hairston is our Director of Operations. And so in the chamber world, as in business, you do a little bit of everything, right? But we work hard, but we have so much fun. And Christy and Crystal are really the engines that make the chamber run. They really are. And I'm just so fortunate. Yeah.
And for everyone that is watching and listening, tell them. Because what if they are listening and they're like, what does a chamber do? So much goes into it, I know. But for those that aren't aware, let them know, what is a Chamber of Commerce? What do you guys do?
Okay. Well, the chamber can mean many different things to many different businesses. For instance, 60% of our members are businesses that have fewer than 5 employees. So for those businesses who don't have time to get out and network or get out and talk to legislators, for instance, to do some policy making, the chamber can be that connector, right? We have about 60 events a year.
That's a lot of events.
Yeah, and Missy does the same. It's a lot, right? But those are opportunities to get out and connect anywhere from 50 people to our annual meeting at 450 people. So you are in rooms with people that you can market yourself to. And the chambers, I tell this, it's like a gym membership. You get out of it what you put into it.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yes.
And that's with anything. You get out of it what you put into it. So in addition to being a connector, an advocator at the local, state, and federal level, an educator. We provide grants to small businesses. So we are the number one or the premier business advocate for Danville and Pittsylvania County. We have about 600 members, but we have over 23,000 member employees.
Wow.
So like with Rogers, a member.
Right.
So every employee at Rogers is a chamber member, and that gives you many benefits.
How amazing is that?
Yeah.
I mean, having an advocate out there helping you network with other individuals. You have already put us in touch with people that are going to help us grow our organization. And so to have that connection is just fantastic when it makes you feel like you're not alone. It really makes you feel like you're never alone.
Well, we're a convener of resources, right? It's kind of like our earlier conversation. You had a need, and we connected you with someone that you just met with. So hopefully that will help you with your needs. So, yeah.
And with all of those events throughout the year, take us through a day in the life of Ann. How do you manage all of this?
Well, I am not very well. I'm learning self-care, right? I love massages every month.
Okay.
But you know what? It's a lot of work, but it's fun. Not one day is the same, right? You get up, you might have events, or you might be planning for an event, or you might be working on grants for small businesses or leadership Southside classes, which have been around for 34 years. So it's just a little, we might be doing classes, smart series on how to maximize AI in businesses. So it's just a lot of different things. And, my favorite part is doing this though, getting out of the office, talking to our members and seeing exactly what your needs are, because that helps us shape the services that we offer. And that changes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, it just, when you're out there, you kind of feel like you're in the trenches with your members.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get to see it. And I just appreciate you doing that. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. We're really concentrating now on because our chamber's growing, right? And that growth is aligned with the growth of our region. All of the announcements, Caesars, microporous is a big one. And so how do we align that growth with the growth of the region? And how do we align our programs? How do we think strategically about the needs of our community? And so we're doing some really deep thinking right now because we've rebounded from COVID.
Yes.
Right? And then now, I tell you what's so weird is 20 years ago, you're like, God, what do we do to survive? And now it's like, holy crap, how do we manage this growth in a very smart, strategic, methodical way? And with growth comes opportunities and challenges. And so how do you manage that? And that's where we are right now.
So it sounds to me, and I want to know, through this journey for you, we'll just take it from 2022 when you started with the chamber. What has been a pinch me moment that you've had during this? Because there's so many great things happening. Has there been just one moment where you're like, oh my gosh, pinch me, I cannot believe this is actually happening?
There have been so many.
Yeah.
Probably for me, it would be Caesars. And
definitely.
Because when I worked with the city back in 2004, that was a site at the time, with old mill buildings. That's how long, right, it takes to really transform an area. And so Caesars is a wonderful addition to our community. But they're just one piece of it, right? And that's what we have to remind people. As a chamber whose 60% of our businesses are small businesses, we're also as uniquely interested in the spin-off businesses that will happen because of Microporous and Caesars and Tyson Foods and Aero Farms and all the ones that we got coming in to support our small businesses.
And speaking of supporting small businesses, I talk about it a lot on here about how we need to lift each other up and support each other. What is your biggest piece of advice to people in supporting small businesses? What advice would you give them?
To locals, I would say, instead of going to the big box chains, shop local. That's one thing that everyone can do to stand up and support your small businesses, whether it's on Main Street or, on 58, whatever you can, because they need support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when we talk about support and small businesses, I want to know, because you're so busy, you're really, really busy. And so if you have a free Saturday, where can we find you? What are you doing on your free time?
I am in the woods.
In the woods? Tell me more.
I am a hiker.
Okay.
And that is my stress reliever. And we have a whole bunch of my girlfriends, and we do allow the boys to come sometimes, but it's kind of a girl thing. But we go hiking. We go hiking all over Virginia, and I think we're going on Sunday if the weather's good. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
And so what's been your favorite place to hike so far? I mean, I know it sounds like you've been to a lot of places.
Yeah, I love Crabtree Falls.
Okay.
I love anything around Nelson County, that 151 corridor where Devil's Backbone is and Wintergreen, but I love that area.
Okay.
Up on the Parkway, yeah.
I love that. I'll have to reach out to you.
Yes. Do you hike?
I'd love to. I don't do it as often as I'd like, but yes, I would love to.
You kayak?
I love to kayak. Not kayak.
Did you see that video last night, that whale?
Yes, and that's why I'm not going on a kayak in the ocean.
Yeah, he swallowed the whole thing, the kayaker.
That's a nightmare. That would be a nightmare for me.
But he spit it back out, so that was good.
Oh, yeah. And so you're a kayaker as well.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. The water, not so much for me. But I will hike, so we'll have to go on a hike sometime soon.
It.
Yes, that would be great. And so what is the future looking like for the chamber?
It is bright. It is so bright. We're just trying to be strategic about our growth, but we're just trying to catch up, right? And instead of just going in many different directions, just trying to really think about what it means, to grow. So when I'll be 60 soon, and so if I'm lucky enough for my board to have me another 5 to 8 years, I want to look back. I have a vision of where I want our chamber to be when I say goodbye. But when I say goodbye, I'm going to go and work at Caesars. I'm going to do something, right? Yeah. So I'm always going to be working. But I have a vision, and we're going to drive towards that vision.
I love that. And we have a lot of individuals that tune in every week, and they are just starting their careers, or they may be in their career and not sure which way they want to go next. So what is the biggest piece of advice you would give someone that's just looking for some direction and some advice right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a new business owner, I would really, and you're here in Halifax, you need to talk to Mitzi.
Definitely.
Right? And, I'm always here if you want to think about coming over. But one thing I do want to say is, because the region is growing, Mitzi, Danville, Martinsville, Patrick, we're all a part of an alliance where what's good for one is good for all. So we have a really good partnership. Talk to Mitzi if there are any young professionals groups, join those, because in a smaller rural community, relationships and networking are key, right? And you got to put yourself out there, right?
Definitely.
And again, you get out of it what you put into it.
Oh, yes. And you got to get out of your comfort zone.
That's right. You
have to, because it's not, and I've recently just heard, I listened to a podcast, and I recently, they were talking about networking events and how everyone feels the same way. Everyone's nervous at the event. Yeah. So we probably should just talk about how we're all very overwhelmed by having to introduce people to each other and ourselves to other people and new people, and just let it all out and just do it.
Yep. Go to Factory Street, get you a brew, and then calm down, and you'll be all right, right?
Exactly. Well, we end every podcast now with a random question.
Oh, God.
And you get to pick it.
That.
You get to pick it. And you have to answer it. So pick wisely.
Is this like Crimes Against Humanity or something like that?
I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh my God, this is awful.
What is it?
What makes you feel proud of yourself?
Well, that is not awful. That is fantastic.
Well, I mean, but that's like, okay, what makes you feel proud of yourself? That's hard because I am very critical of myself. Very critical.
Wow.
I put too much, there's nothing that you can say to me that's going to piss me off worse than what I'm going to do to myself. So this is a hard question for me. What makes you feel proud of yourself?
I could name so many things that you should be proud of.
I love people. And I feel that I am good. I just like to be around people. I'm a very loving, caring person, and I hope that shows. But yeah, I think I'm a good connector.
You are. You are. You are exactly where you need to be right now. And I feel it. I see it.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you do for everyone around you.
Thank you.
And I just admire what you do in building others up. And now we need to work on you building yourself up.
That's right. That's right. Let's go hiking. We'll talk about it.
Yes.
Right? We'll get some strategies going for sure.
I, again, appreciate everything you're doing. Appreciate you being here on the Day of Love.
I know. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
To spend it with us here at Rogers. And, you know, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening today. We appreciate you so much. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And continue rating, reviewing, subscribing, doing all the things. Let us know who you want to see next. I will reach out to them, I promise you. And we will talk to you next week. Bye.